This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
As we approach the end of 2016, we're taking some time to look back and reflect on the stories that shaped the Suncoast over the past year. There were heartbreaking losses for some and sweeping victories for others. Whether you're sorry to see the year go or long ready for 2017, it was one for the history books. I'm Haley Wilgus. Alan Cohn is off this week. Thank you for joining us. Our top 7 stories of 2016 are coming up, but first, tonight's top 7 stories at 7. The new year is almost here, and as we prepare for the annual pineapple drop in downtown Sarasota, police are also getting ready. The Sarasota Police Department will have extra officers on patrol Saturday night. Around 30,000 people are expected to converge on the intersection of Lemon Avenue and Main Street for this big New Year's celebration. Police say it's illegal and dangerous to fire gunshots in the air. They are asking people to leave backpacks, coolers, and alcohol at home.
We not only have enough officers down there to make sure that everybody down there has a good time, but we're also prepared for any contingency situations that may arise, either medical emergencies or any type of critical emergencies that may arise.
Several streets will be closed for the pineapple drop. For a list of those closures, just go to our website, mysuncoast.com. And if you don't want to fight the crowds, we'll be streaming the countdown live on our website. Florida Highway Patrol will also be increasing presence over the New Year's weekend. Troopers will be focusing on aggressive and impaired drivers. FHP is joining agencies all across the nation for the annual Drive Sober or Get Pulled Over campaign. All troopers, including those typically assigned to administrative duties, will now be on patrol. Anyone who suspects that they see a drunk driver on the road, you can call STAR FHP, which is star 347. Sarasota's Pinecraft neighborhood is hosting an annual volleyball tournament, but some in the area say it's creating traffic hazards. More than 1,500 players and fans gathered at the Palm Grove Church today, but that's exactly the problem, according to some nearby residents. They're complaining of people leaving their cars on private property because of a lack of parking. The tournament's director says that he's trying to improve the situation.
This year, we worked really hard to make sure that people have more parking, and working closely with Dutchman so that we can use their parking lot.
For any kind of normal traffic going in and out of that area, it's almost impossible. And we've posted signs and done a lot of things to try and prevent it.
This is the 27th year for the Pinecraft Volleyball Tournament. The most accident-prone roundabout in Sarasota County could soon get a little safer. Florida's Department of Transportation is announcing work on an improvement project at the intersection of Jacaranda Boulevard and East Venice Avenue. It will begin in March. Curbs and barriers will be added to keep drivers from changing lanes in the roundabout. New signs and a pedestrian crossing will also be added. Manatee County is one step closer to becoming a new high school and opening one in Parrish. The school board is purchasing 48 acres for $2.3 million. The school will be able to accommodate 2,100 students with room for expansion if necessary. It's expected to be open in the fall of 2019. A public meeting on this project is scheduled for February. After months of challenges and legal issues, the Cask and Ale is finally ready to open its doors in downtown Sarasota. The restaurant and cocktail lounge is scheduled to open tomorrow afternoon. Owners announced plans for the location back in May, but approval from the City Commission took several months because of opposition from some downtown residents. They complained that it would create too much noise and traffic. Commissioners ultimately approved it. The owners are also involved in a trademark dispute over the bar's name. Swimmers on Suncoast beaches are being warned about the potential for dangerous rip currents. An approaching cold front is expected to drive up the surf and fuel deadly currents. An advisory is in place for Sarasota, Manatee, and Charlotte counties. Lifeguards say it's essential to know what to do if you get caught in one of these currents.
Swim near the lifeguard, keep your eye out for the water when it's rough, know your limitations. Okay, just know your limitations. Sometimes people overestimate their ability in the water and they find themselves in trouble. If you get in trouble, do not fight the current and try not to panic. Just relax.
The majority of rescues on Suncoast beaches are because of rip currents. And for more on that and our forecast, let's head over to John.
Yeah, Haley, thanks very much. If you're confused about exactly what a rip current is, this video will give you a very good explanation. University of North Carolina Coastal Studies Institute put some harmless dye in the surf, and watch what happened. With a strong onshore wind, the waters pile up close to the shore, and those piled up waters have to go somewhere, so a little jet of fast-moving water takes that excess piled up water and pushes it right back out into the open seas. If you're caught in that, it whisks you out into the open waters in a pretty quick fashion, and you just can't fight it. Need to swim parallel to the shore to get out of that jet, and then you can return safely. We have a high surf advisory, we have a rip current advisory, we have a small craft advisory up for tonight and tomorrow due to those strong winds, which could be kind of gusty tomorrow. They'll put an edge on the winds, on the air rather, and make it feel kind of raw to a lot of folks as those temperatures begin to drop. Just to recap, a lot of advisories, all water related, so if you're a mariner, probably a good day to stay in port tomorrow, and you know, it's best just to stay out of those waters. By dawn tomorrow, temperatures will fall into the 50s, and we'll have a cold day ahead of us. We'll talk about how cold it's going to get in just a few minutes, Haley.
All right, thank you, John. And still to come, what stories do you think had the most impact on the Suncoast this year? Tonight, we're counting down our top 7 of the year. Find out which stories made the cut when we return.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Matter.
And I'm Don Brennan. After months of problems and delays, a much anticipated change is coming to Main Street in downtown Sarasota. Tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast, we'll show you what's finally opening its doors. Josh?
And the cold front has finally arrived, so what will the temperatures be? We'll let you know.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local boys and girls clubs. Great futures start here.
Every week on Animal Outtakes, it's a new adventure.
This week on Animal Outtakes, preserving and protecting our seabirds. Learn how you can help. Plus, Kids and Critters goes down on the farm with a couple of pigs. And just wait until you meet our Dog of the Week.
Watch Animal Outtakes every week on ABC7.
On your TV, on your computer, on your camera, on your smartphone, on your Apple Watch. And now you can get ABC7, your Suncoast News on Fire TV. Just go to mysuncoast.com and click on the mobile tab for a list of fast and free downloads that deliver ABC7, your Suncoast News on the go. ABC7 News at 7, weeknights.
Sarasota, we're uncorking something special at Michael's Wine Cellar and Tasting Room. Shop in a relaxed atmosphere with our wine specialists. You'll find 1,000 international wines, 200 under $20. National brand and boutique liquors at competitive pricing. Handcrafted beers. Stop by Michael's Wine Cellar and Tasting Room today and let us show you something exceptional.
As 2016 draws to a close, we would like to take a moment and look back at some of the major headlines from this year. ABC7's Christopher Brantley is joining us now with more on that. Christopher.
Well, good evening, Haley. Every year we compile a list of the biggest stories that we felt were making most headlines around the Suncoast. Unlike some years, this year we had a lot to choose from. Sunday, January 17th, 3:30 a.m. The Suncoast was awoken by alerts of major tornadoes.
But this is the area that is now we believe to be the tornado on the ground heading off to the northeast.
3 tornadoes touched down and began ripping through parts of the Suncoast. The first tornadoes in our area in years. Siesta Key had major damage. Apartment buildings were evacuated. But the worst damage was undoubtedly in Duet, where a husband and wife were killed while protecting their grandchildren from the winds.
They were two of the best people. Steve and Kate would do anything. Steve did everything and anything for any neighbor, anytime.
Their son was injured, but in a glimmer of hope, an online GoFundMe account helped raise money for medical bills. Number 6. Florida hadn't been hit by a hurricane since 2005, but this year our luck ran out.
Manatee County dealing with a lot of flooding from what was Tropical Storm and now Hurricane Hermine.
Hurricane Hermine struck in September, killing one and doing more than $1 billion in damage statewide.
In the matter of an hour, things went from clear skies and just flooding to a lot of rain, a lot of wind.
Homes were left flooded on the barrier islands and throughout Bradenton. Erosion on Manasota Key left some homes teetering over the Gulf. Only 1 month later, Hurricane Matthew hit our state as a Category 4 storm. The Suncoast was flooded in a different way, with evacuees seeking refuge. Number 5. Help for the homeless stagnates. After years of debate on building a homeless shelter, negotiations between the city of Sarasota and the county broke down. This year's point-in-time survey showing the homeless population increased by nearly 400 people. And yet, there is a glimmer of hope. The Quality of Life program at the Salvation Army helped more than 350 homeless transition into permanent housing.
This is a great thrill for me, you know, that this happened so quickly. And even though I'm opposed to the city, I am very grateful to them for providing all this for me.
Number 4. It was the shot heard around the world. In August, 73-year-old Punta Gorda resident Mary Knowlton was allegedly shot by an officer during a citizens training exercise. Witnesses tell us the officer in question in last night's shooting was wearing a disguise. The firearm Officer Cole used was meant to be fake. However, it was real and loaded. Several shots rang out and Knowlton fell to the ground. A witness to the shooting said it changed her view on life.
How quickly things can change. Split second, and lives are over.
The Knowlton family settled with the city for $2 million in damages. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement investigation is still ongoing with Officer Cole on administrative leave. Number 3. It was the worst mass shooting in U.S. history by a single gunman. The Pulse nightclub shooting claimed the lives of 49 people.
We're also learning that at least one of the victims in the shooting was indeed from Sarasota.
Eddie Sotomayor was known as a fun, energetic, and kind young man. He was killed while hiding in the nightclub as the gunman rained terror.
Every time I think of Eddie Sotomayor, I will think about how much fun he was. People really, really loved Eddie.
A candlelight vigil was held in his honor at 5 Points Park in downtown Sarasota. Thousands of people paid their respects. Number 2, the heroin epidemic. Manatee County continues to be the overdose capital of Florida for yet another year, with at least 75 fatal overdoses. But something has changed. More users are now overdosing on synthetic forms of heroin such as fentanyl. Variations of that drug, known as analogs, have become more widespread. 33 people in Manatee overdosed on carfentanil, an elephant tranquilizer, estimated to be 10,000 times more potent than morphine. But there is hope. Narcan, a drug that reverses the effects of an overdose, is being carried by more agencies than ever, and a new law co-sponsored by Vern Buchanan will provide $1 billion in federal funding to combat the opioid epidemic. And finally, the top story of 2016, the election. It was the year of Donald Trump. From his first arrival in Sarasota like nothing we've ever seen, landing in a helicopter with an elephant waiting for him.
He just left the stage out here and left this crowd energized. Sarasota has been good to Donald Trump.
Trump returned on the eve of the election.
When we win tomorrow, we are going to drain the swamp.
And on November 8th, the Suncoast handed him a victory. Boosted by that enthusiasm, almost every elected position on the Suncoast was swept by Republicans. And while some of the past year was pretty rough, there were glimmers of hope. In response to the hurricanes, the Department of Housing and Urban Development is providing $58 million of relief money in Florida. And as for the Pulse nightclub shooting, local filmmakers are working on one of 49. Revolution of Love, honoring the life of Eddie Sotomayor.
Christopher, thank you for that recap. And of course, those are some of the stories. We have many more that didn't make the list. We'll be back with those with members of our ABC7 team when we return.
You're going to need me. You're going to need us. All of us. You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food. You're going to need our determination, our compassion. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
All hands on deck. What's up? I want to point out 3 tips for using the home computer more safely. Point away.
First, stop. Make sure your software is up to date and that you've password protected your computer's login and Wi-Fi connection.
Next, think before visiting a site, opening attachments, or clicking on links.
Then connect, knowing you're helping make the web safer for you
and for everyone. Make Stop, Think, Connect part of your daily online routine.
Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Make your holidays sparkle with style. Browse our amazing showroom, cute collectible cottages, and beautiful Christmas displays. Find the inspiration, selection, and quality you need to deck the halls merry and bright. Christmas Traditions also features the area's largest selection of quality pre-lit Christmas trees, every size, shape, and color, and plenty of decorations to make your home shine for the holidays. Christmas Traditions by Lux Art Silks, where more is merrier. Visit us on New 301, just a quarter-mile north of University Parkway.
Don't miss the 19th annual Thunder by the Bay Motorcycle Festival, January 5th through the 8th, to benefit Suncoast Charities for Children. This year's festival welcomes special guest Blue Oyster Cult to the premier sports campus at Lakewood Ranch on January 8th at 4 p.m. Admission is free. Festival events include a sporting clay tournament, kickoff party, welcome Thunder event, Cruise for Cash charity motorcycle ride, and a 2-day Rockin' and Ridin' at the Ranch festival featuring vendors, live music, a taste of Thunder area, and more. VIP tickets are available. For tickets and info, visit thunderbybthebay.org.
Welcome back. What a year it has been on the Suncoast. Joining us now to discuss our coverage is reporter Ray Collins, South County reporter Christopher Brantley, and ABC7 producer Erica Jackson. So thanks for being with us, guys, taking the long walk from the newsroom into the studio tonight. First of all, I just want everyone to share their thoughts on what really stuck out to you as you were out in the field reporting. What are maybe a couple of the most important stories that you covered? And we'll start with Ray.
The most unusual was covering a tornado in January. I've covered enough hurricanes in Florida, but tornadoes was a big surprise. So that one I won't soon forget. We didn't expect that in this area, and that caused a lot of damage. I was on Siesta Key. You were on the mainland, I think. And that was a morning we'll never forget. It lasted all day.
That was a long day. It was a very long day. I think the story that stuck out most to me was the Venice Library story. And while it may not affect everyone in a seriously negative way, I have never received so much mail and viewer feedback from the Venice Library closing kind of quickly in January, actually right before the tornadoes hit. So I think that was a story that really garnered a lot of people's attention. I think that was probably the most story I covered repeatedly throughout the year.
And was there a theme when you say people were contacting you? Was it split 50-50? People had similar opinions. They were for it closing or against it closing. Was it a mixed bag?
You know, every time I've done this story, and last time I counted, I've done 16 stories on the Venice Library. I have yet to find someone who agreed that the library should be closed. And I think that's largely because the community loved it so much. And well, you know, they say there was mold in there according to the county library system. I think everybody wanted to see that building stay open. It couldn't.
It's hard to believe it can get that bad that fast.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, they've been talking about it for years. Yeah. And just a year before the library closed, Mayor Hollick took me into a room right next to the library. It's sealed off with like saran wrap and duct tape. The air vents are closed off. It has a separate air conditioning system because it is infested with mold.
Wow.
So they knew for a long time something was going on, but it was like at the drop of a hat. Towards the tail end of December of last year, they said library's going to close. in like 2 weeks.
And sometimes you reach that threshold, and then mold is hard for some people. You're not seeing it. You know, it's not like the building is crumbling before your eyes. So that's why I think so many
It's
people
up in
were
the ceiling,
resistant.
in the drop ceiling, and you know, people don't see it, but we know it's there.
Right. And Erica, before we head to break, what's the one story that really stuck out in your mind?
Probably a mix. It's two, but it'll be quick, between the crazy weather we've had here in 2016 and, of course, the presidential election, not just here, but across the country.
I would agree with that. Definitely the election. We have about a minute left before we go to break. So tell me your quick thoughts, Ray and Christopher, on covering the election.
I was lucky enough, or whatever, to be at the Van Wezel in May of 2015 when Donald Trump came to town and said he's going to run for office the following month. And I said, wow, interesting. And then I went to the Cleveland Convention where he was anointed. So I had quite an interesting bird's eye view of that amazing rise. And I've covered politics for years, but never seen this, and nobody has really.
I don't think we have.
And I covered a couple campaign rallies over the last couple of elections, although not as many as you have. But I was there for the Donald Trump rally at Roberts Arena when he came in on a helicopter, kind of out of nowhere. We thought he was arriving by a limousine, and all of a sudden this helicopter comes in with this like loud music blaring and an elephant walking by. It was very very cool, I'll tell you that. But I think that was a heck of a campaign rally.
It was a show. And
right, that's what I was going to say. It was a spectacle,
yes.
unlike what we've seen before. We've seen a lot in politics. I just don't think we've seen quite that level of spectacle.
They got people's attention.
Definitely did. And we have much more to discuss with that and other stories. Plus, it was a memorable year for weather, as we mentioned, in our area. When we come back, John Scalzi will have a look at some major events here on the Suncoast.
Have you ever wondered what it's like to save a life? Find out by donating platelets at Suncoast Blood Bank.
I'm Haley Wilgus, ABC7. Platelets aid in the clotting process and are vital in the treatment of cancer and surgical patients, trauma victims, and critically ill newborns. It's tough to keep enough on the shelves because they only last 5 days. To donate, call this number or visit scbb.org, and you can help save a life.
ABC7 congratulates Suncoast Blood Bank on 65 years of serving our community. It's time to upgrade your favorite news app. Now, ABC7's My Suncoast News app is better than ever with a dynamic brand new design that's faster and easier to use. Stay connected with new features that make it easy to submit photos, share stories on Facebook and Twitter, and save stories for reading at a later time. Download our free My Suncoast News app on your mobile device at your app store. ABC7's all-new My Suncoast News app. Just another way we're here for you. Powered by the Eye Associates, providing sight for life.
You might feel like there's too many problems in the world, or that, you as a 15-year-old, 16-year-old can't really make a difference.
It's not always about you. It's not just one person. It's a group. It's a team.
Just that simple act is transforming someone else's life.
It's one of the best feelings in the world.
It'll just make you feel so good about yourself.
I'd do anything to convince you just to be a part of this.
You love your couch and want to protect it from spills, food, and scratching, shedding pets. Introducing Couch Coat, the reversible, washable quilted cover that protects your couch. Shield against spills, wow, stop stains, and dirty pet paws and sharp claws. Plus, it's reversible with 2 stylish colors. Guaranteed to fit any couch up to 92 inches or your money back. It even has covers to protect armrests. Machine washable too.
My grandkids destroy everything, but with Couch Coat, my couch is always protected, looking as good as it did the day I bought it.
Get your Couch Coat for just $19.99, and it's reversible in brown and cream, like 2 couch coats for the price of 1. Order right now, and you can double your offer. Get a second Couch Coat. Just pay a separate fee. Order right now.
Call 1-800-943-0710 to get your couch coat. Call now or go to couchcoat.com. So call 1-800-943-0710. That's 1-800-943-0710. Call now.
2016 was a year of severe weather across the nation and here on the Suncoast. Meteorologist John Scalzi is joining us now with a look back on 2016 weather-wise. John?
Yeah, it was a very eventful year, actually, both in dramatic weather events and in weather events that kind of sneak up on you just a little bit. Some of my highest priority weather events of the year, I think, were probably 10 straight warm months. Out of the 12 in 2016, 10 of them were at least a degree and a half, as much as 4 degrees above the normal. And December will probably end up being the warmest, or one of the warmest months on record. Very dry right into the end of the year. That has catapulted us into the drought monitors classification as abnormally dry. And of course, as we head into fire season, we need some rainfall, but the long-term forecasts are for continued dry conditions. And red tide returned and was kind of ever present for a long time in concentrations that were a bit alarming to a lot of folks. But I think the two weather events that were the most important of the year were a return to an active hurricane season and also a very active tornado season, as you heard earlier, which brings us to the first event of 2016 in January, the F2 tornadoes. It was Siesta Key weather security cam, actually, that caught the lightning flashes from the storm as it moved onshore. And then in the last few frames, you'll notice the winds beginning to pick up. Those are the winds around a tornado that would destroy homes as multiple tornadoes touched down. Now, tornadoes are rated on a scale of 0 to 5, and it's been decades here on the Suncoast since we saw anything as strong as a F2 with winds up to 135 miles an hour. But that night, on the 17th of January, we had multiple EF2 tornadoes touch down. One on Siesta Key did extensive damage, and one in Duet killed 2 people and destroyed their mobile home. It was also a very active season for tornadoes in Charlotte County as well, where a month later, 2 tornadoes touched down there, one in Duet and one in Murdoch that did extensive damage, caused a lot of power outages, and left homes uninhabitable. Hurricane season was active as well. A return to the active hurricane season started off with 2 storms that year. One, of course, caused a lot of flooding. That was Colin, and so did Hermine, which caused as much as 10 inches of rain to fall. Homes were flooded, boats sunk, beaches eroded, and roads were made impassable. Colin had some of the worst flooding in Anna Maria that they've seen in years, and Hermine's rains and winds qualified both Sarasota and Manatee counties for emergency FEMA funds. And then, of course, there was Matthew. That was a horrific storm that took well over 1,000 lives in the Caribbean. Caused massive flooding in the Carolinas as well, with 3 inches of rain in 30 minutes. Thankfully, that stayed east of the state of Florida, but it was close enough, and any deviation in the track could have certainly impacted our weather, so we were under a tropical storm watch here locally. Its major impact, I think, on the Suncoast was the massive evacuations over on the other coast that caused us to play host to a lot of displaced Floridians for an extended period of time. Well, a lot of that was caused by El Nino. El Nino was almost at a record level last year, and it takes the jet stream and kind of reorients it. What it did was create a puddle of warm water in the Pacific that pushed that jet stream southward so that we were in the storm zone across deep south and Florida as well. There's somewhat of a relationship between that jet stream activity and severe weather for us here in the state of Florida, and that certainly did seem to be the case. Nothing like that tonight, though we do have a cold front moving through, which promises to change our weather dramatically in the next 12 hours or so. We do have a couple of advisories that we need to make you aware of, small craft advisories for our area waters and a high surf advisory as well, causing our wave action to swell up to about 5 feet or so by morning. So not a good day to be out in the waters. A small craft advisory is in effect. When you wake up tomorrow morning, we'll probably have temperatures that'll be close to the mid-50s, and it'll be a cold day on Friday as well. Chance of showers overnight. We'll have more on the top stories of 2016 when we return.
Our community has its struggles. The fact is, people have less than they did just a few years ago, and sadly, the need becomes more profound every day. Season of Sharing provides funds to help individuals and families in need, ensuring they will not end up homeless and without a roof over their heads. Together, providing a helping hand and making a difference. Season of Sharing. Give today at cfsarasota.org.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View.
We're wrapping up 2016 with our New Year's party. I'm Stephanie Roberts. On Suncoast View, we'll toast the end of the year and ask our wine expert about the best bubblies to serve for your celebrations. Venice Theater brings us the crooning sounds of singer Michael Bublé, plus McCurdy's New Year's Eve headliner, comedian Tim Wilkins stops by, and Harry's Continental joins us in the kitchen.
Tomorrow at 4 on Suncoast View. Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names. They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
Call right now to get your free Senior Care Compass ebook. Find out about the 5 best-kept secrets on financing senior care and assisted living.
Call now, 800-290-0352. 800-290-0352.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we're looking back on 2016 and the top stories that affected us here on the Suncoast. Joining us tonight is reporter Ray Collins, South County reporter Christopher Brantley, and ABC7 producer Erica Jackson. A lot of familiar faces with us tonight. And Ray, I want to start with you because you've covered a lot of stories that are kind of marathon stories that have been going on and on.
Yes.
We have the lift station, the homeless issue, but I want to touch first on Susan Chapman, the trial that has been a marathon. She came out victorious, but in the process, she cost taxpayers a lot of money. So tell us some of your thoughts on that.
Well, to explain the whole story would take a full hour indeed, so I won't go back to the beginning, but it began at a community breakfast where Susan Chapman and Suzanne Atwell, the 2 commissioners, were or were not supposed to be there together without a sunshine stipulation. I'll skip past the next few chapters, and the trial, which she did win, came to $360,000 tax dollars. She plans to recoup those legal fees. At this moment, it hasn't happened. There's also an appeal in the works, so the meter could continue to run again. She says it's a good investment. It's worth it to fight for the First Amendment and the Sunshine Law, not to expand it. Others say do it on your own dime, not with tax dollars. So it's become very contentious. It's led into other issues. She is going to run for re-election. Others are running now against her, and this issue is a large reason why they want to run against her, because they think she mishandled it. Others think she did not. So we're just here to hold the mirror up to reflect what's going on.
Right, and another project that cost a lot of money and has had a lot of issues, the lift station. We've we've started the project, we've restarted, we have shifted contracts, we've gone through a lot, and now Osprey is closed again.
This has been going on for over 10 years. It was supposed to cost about $10 million. It is now going to cost about $42 million because the original engineer couldn't go under the Hudson Bayou as they had promised they could. Lawsuits about that one as well. Osprey is closed. It will be for most of the year, very inconvenient. The construction is now finally underway, and it should cost about $42 million when it's completed, supposedly in 2020.
I think all of us who live here say we'll believe it when we see it, but hopefully that's the case this time around. Now, we talked about the Sarasota City Commission race just briefly. Christopher, the Northport Commission race, that's a big contentious
also
issue.
Very contentious,
right.
very heated this year. You had a community campaign against some of the incumbents, an ABCD movement is that they called themselves, anybody but Cook and DeFranco. These 2 commissioners in Northport who were eviscerated by this campaign. They lost by healthy margins, and it was interesting to me to watch this whole process because it really was citizens coming out and getting people to vote. Well before Election Day, there were signs everywhere. I mean, they were all over Northport, and that was itself a contentious issue. But you also had the incumbent mayor, Jacqueline Moore, who was generally loved by everybody. She was beat by a pretty decent margin by a businessman, Chris Hanks, who's never been in politics before. She was in her first term as the mayor, which is a 1 year they serve, and she was voted out. And I spoke to her early on election night, and she was feeling pretty confident. by the end of the night, she was not. And Chris Hanks has gone in there and he's basically said, listen, this is the people of Northport are going to be taking back the commission, and they're going to be reversing some decisions they felt were negative in the year previous. In 2015, some of the commissioners had tried to restrict access to City Hall, to restrict access to the public commission meetings. Basically, this movement was, we're going to reverse all of that and make it a completely transparent government. It was very interesting to watch the people come out in droves this year.
Yeah, definitely. Now, Erica, totally shifting gears to the Janiah Thomas story. Not only was that just a horrific story, losing a young child, but also you were mentioning, we were discussing this earlier, that it has bigger implications, not just for Janiah, but for many other children in our area. Tell us why that
Exactly, yeah. This is actually a story that took place in 2015. So for this, we actually have to look back to see how it's shaping this year, 2016, which we're looking at all these various stories. And I think an interesting angle is Janiah Thomas was homeschooled, and she was missing for quite some time. And they believe they found her, it was about a year later when they found her body in a freezer. So that brought up questions how to ensure the safety of homeschool children, the homeschool students. And in addition, the DCF says it's working on improving ways to better communicate with their partners, like the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, which may not have worked as they had hoped in this case. So we have to go back to that case to see how it's improving for now and in the future.
Right, for taking care of all those children. And now we did a segment, a big project that we had in November called Suncoast 2037, looking ahead to where we will be in 2037. What stuck out to you? We did so many stories, several each day. Tell us what stuck out to you as some of the biggest look ahead stories for 2037.
Yeah, that series actually caused a lot of chaos in the newsroom because every single show had fresh content. We went out for more than 120 different shows. We grabbed new video and new story topics. A couple that stood out to me, I was able to talk to Sarasota County School Superintendent Lori White, and she discussed the importance of technology in the classroom, but also that we can't depend on that technology. She thought it was really important that students need that face-to-face interaction with the teacher, and especially as technology, we have college students basing a lot of their education on online classes. So it was funny to see and interesting that she's actually going against that, and she says we do need that face-to-face interaction. I also thought it was interesting when we discussed the affordable housing crisis, and a couple of the answers that we received is that what we need to do is take what we already have now and shift that and make that affordable housing. We don't need to go ahead and build all these extra buildings for the people that can't afford the apartments and the houses locally. We can take some of those already built houses, refurbish them, and make those affordable housing for those in need.
And that's a great segue, Ray, into all of the stories that you have covered involving the homeless issue. Because although there are many issues as to why people might be homeless, it could be addiction issues, mental health issues, but there are some who cannot afford to live in our area. It's not the most expensive city in the country, but it's not cheap.
Right, and there are some projects now on the books. There's one that Harvey Vengroff is behind involving Vengroff Village on Fruitville, not too far from 301, and that would be several hundred apartments for lower income. Really, that's mostly designed at the working class in downtown Sarasota, the waiters and the waitresses, so they don't have to be bussed in, as is often the case. I know down in Naples, half the workers are brought in from Miami. Not half, but quite a few are brought in from Miami. We don't want that here. So there are some lower income projects in the works. But yeah, the homeless continues to be a big issue here. The city and the county have just not seen eye to eye. The city wants a housing first strategy, more of a hands-on boutique approach. The county prefers more of a come-as-you-are shelter. And they've kind of done their own thing, at least publicly. I think staff is still meeting, but there's not been a joint commissioners meeting in about 13 months.
And I think people are wondering, do you see any changes? Do you see any of the things being implemented that when we had Dr. Robert Marbut come in?
You know, I live in Sarasota and I drive through, and I know you do as well. I don't see a lot of changes. I hear that there's some progress. I know that the Dr. Marbut experiment, not everyone thought that was a good investment after all. So no, I don't know. I guess the subplot also is the name Doug Logan. He was the gentleman brought in to be the homeless coordinator, paid top of the scale, $120,000 a year, no previous experience with the homeless directly, and he lasted from June to February this past year, and that was very controversial. Even his package when he left was rather hefty as well.
Right.
And that job is not being advertised since. And nobody full-time right now, I believe, is a homeless coordinator since last February in Sarasota.
So stalemate. That's where we are heading into 2017 is what I think I would call it.
Yeah.
Well, we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have final thoughts on 2016, plus what some of our viewers are saying about the development boom in downtown Sarasota.
Looking for something fun to do on a Friday night? Then come to Music on Main, the first Friday of every month at Lakewood Ranch. Enjoy free live music, dancing, great food, and lots of fun for every family member, even the furry ones. Meet up with friends, enjoy activities for the kids, or make it a special date night. And be sure to stop by the ABC7 booth and say hello. Mark your calendars for Music on Main, first Friday of the month, 6 to 9 at Lakewood Ranch. Brought to you by ABC7 and these sponsors. Check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, step-by-step videos, and Suncoast Restaurant Guide. You'll find it all at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Attention small business owners. Penn Funding announces the easiest and fastest business funding program, the Platinum Business Account.
We needed cash fast. Business is good, but this is an emergency. We needed some new equipment, and the banks wouldn't help us.
At Penn Funding, we like to say, yes, you're approved. With your Platinum Business Account, you could qualify for up to $50,000 or more. This amazing new business account funding program is so effective, you could have the cash you need in just days.
I called, spoke with an agent who pre-qualified us, and connected me.
Call now for your Platinum Business Account. If you've been in business for at least 6 months, you could qualify for up to $50,000 or more in just days.
I called Penn Funding and had my money fast.
Need cash for your business? Call Penn Funding now.
Call 800-658-3433. 800-658-3433.
Welcome back. Love it or hate it, 2016 was certainly an eventful year, and as we send it off, our guests join us for their final thoughts. And we'll start with Erica. Tell us about some of the big web stories of 2016.
Yeah, well, it was a big year, obviously, as technology is shifting. A lot of people are getting their news on the web. Some of the stories I wanted to highlight, our #1 video of the year was actually from Tropical Storm Hermine, which as it moved north became Hurricane Hermine, and there was actually an alligator swimming in the flooded streets, and it was just quite a sight, and all I could think of was, this is so Florida. That was just like my immediate thought to that. Just a couple other things to highlight. Barnacle Bill's restaurant on 41, the controversial sign reading, "I'm a deplorable." It brought people to the restaurant and kept people away depending on which side you ran on. And then lastly, Christopher discussed the heroin deaths here in 2016, and a lot of our web stories were talking about drug busts, which hopefully is a way of shaping the future to bring that number down for 2017.
And definitely, Christopher, talk about some of those bonds in Venice. That's
Absolutely.
a big one.
There's a big trend in Venice for voters to spend a lot of money this year. They got a tax increase put on by the Venice City Council. Then they spent $16 million for the public safety bond, $18 million for the road bond. I want to make sure I got that right. That was two things they voted in. Voters voted this in. So voters spent a ton of money this year, and by a healthy margin for at least the road bond. So I think we saw a serious trend of voters, willing to spend out a little bit of cash to improve their city.
Right. And Ray, quickly before we go, your favorite story of the year.
I was lucky enough to go to Washington, D.C. with some World War II veterans on the honor flight, and that was a very moving story. The biggest story, though, is development right now around downtown, around the Rosemary District. It is back now. hotels. We're going from 2,000 hotel rooms to 3,000 hotel rooms in Sarasota, and that's a 1/3 increase, obviously, and that's way more than average in cities like this.
Right, and speaking of that, we do want to share some of our thoughts from viewers on what they had to say about last night's show, which was on that topic. Downtown Sarasota is going through a development boom. More than 1,400 condo units are under construction, around with 1,000 hotel rooms. So we asked you what you thought. Cheryl Phillips writes, "Too much growth, way too fast. Sarasota is not a metropolitan city, yet it seems to want to be one. I say slow down and stay charming, you know, like Mayberry." Buki Kodra writes, "It always surprises me how many people think it was okay for them to move here, but the gates now should be shut for others. That is the price you pay for living in paradise, folks." And Leanne Wilcock writes, "Sounds like the majority of people are against this explosive growth. Maybe the people in control should listen or be replaced come election time." If you would like to join the conversation on tonight's topic, our favorite stories and biggest stories of 2016, you can visit our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And if you'd like to watch this roundtable discussion or see some of our previous ones you may have missed, you can head to Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. So thanks to everyone for being here tonight. Some familiar faces, as we said: Ray Collins, Christopher Brantley, and ABC7 producer Erica Jackson. And when we come back, we'll have a look at your year-end forecast, believe it or not. Plus, President Obama is designating millions of acres of land as a national monument. Find out why some Republican lawmakers are challenging this move in our primetime headlines.
Every child follows a path in life. For many, that path will lead them to a door that gives them a place to grow, to learn, to belong, a place to forge their future. Because while many doors open, these doors transform. They did for us. Support your local Boys and Girls Clubs. Great futures start here.
You're going to need me. You're going to need us. All of us. You're going to need our help with your water, your air, your food. You're going to need our determination, our compassion. You're going to need the next generation of leaders to face the challenges the future will bring. And we promise we'll be there when you need us.
At SWC Properties, we pride ourselves in providing to you the very best in customer satisfaction, and the secret's getting out. Maybe that's why so many people have chosen to list their homes with our friendly and qualified agents. After all, it only makes sense to list with a growing agency that markets in so many places. To list your home with SWC, give us a call at our office and ask for Kimberly King.
Selling your home? Insist on a 3D showcase tour from Gulf Shores Realty. Virtual tours are flat and boring and look more like a slideshow than a tour. A 3D tour from Gulf Shores Realty is like actually walking through the home without the drive. Get instant access to your next home from any device. Multiple views give homebuyers a perspective like no other. For a limited time, mention ABC7 and Gulf Shores Realty will provide a complimentary 3D tour with your new listing.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in just a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast as we almost head into 2017.
Yeah, just about there. And in fact, some of the long-range computer models suggest maybe we'll have some really chilly temperatures at the end of the first week of the new year. 72 degrees, our current air temperature, 69-degree dew point. West wind now coming in at 7. The southerly component to the wind beginning to shift just a little bit as that frontal boundary approaches our area. Generally, temperatures are pretty uniform, coming in around 70 degrees or 72 degrees. As we head into the overnight, I think we'll have mild temperatures through about midnight. And then the frontal boundary will start to shift our winds out of the northwest. That spells a pretty rapid cool down for us. And as we head toward dawn tomorrow morning, we'll be looking at temperatures that'll hover around the mid-50s, I think, significantly cooler than we have seen. And daytime highs won't warm all that much thanks to that drainage of cold air out of the north. So we'll look for a windy day tomorrow. And with the combination of the winds and the cooler temperatures, I think a lot of people will think that it's kind of feeling raw outside by midday, as we only get into the mid-60s for a daytime high. That combined with dew points that'll be in the 50s and 40s, and that helps the cooling of the skin. I think a lot of people will certainly need a sweater all day tomorrow. Weekend warm up, though, as that high pressure starts to shift our winds around. We'll look for some pleasant conditions coming our way. A few light showers coming in around the midnight hour or slightly before, and then those showers give way to drier air back behind that line. That's a really broken line of showers that doesn't mean anything in the way of any kind of appreciable rainfall amounts. But when the winds shift, the drier dew points will filter in. Right now, we're at a dew point of 69 degrees, which feels kind of humid, kind of muggy, but back behind that front, dew points are in the 20s and 30s. That's desert-like. And I'll tell you right now, if you run the heat with dew points that are in the 40s and 50s, it makes it feel very dry. And some folks who are susceptible to that sort of thing will find that their sinuses may be aggravated a little bit, and humidification of the air might even be necessary. So we have a little bit of high cloudiness that'll filter in past that frontal boundary when it moves through, and back to the west in Texas, a little bit of high clouds will also influence our weather tomorrow. But watch what happens once that high sinks south. The RPM computer model shows a little fair weather clouds around, and then our winds start to shift and the clouds start to come out of the east and eventually southeast by the time we get to Saturday. That spells a pretty rapid warm up. Again, small craft advisories are up for our area waters. It'll be rough out there, not good boating weather. Tomorrow, 65 our daytime high. We're back into the upper 70s by the end of the weekend. We'll be right back.
At ABC7, it's all about being here for you. ABC7 News at 7 with award-winning investigative journalist Alan Cohn. In-depth reporting and debate on important issues and stories in our community, with a featured topic of the day and a live roundtable discussion with community leaders and newsmakers, plus a quick recap of the day's top stories and weather. ABC7 News at 7 weeknights. Now more than ever, we're here for you, Suncoast. On your TV, on your computer, on your camera, on your smartphone, on your Apple Watch. And now you can get ABC7, your Suncoast News on Fire TV. Just go to mysuncoast.com and click on the mobile tab for a list of fast and free downloads that deliver ABC7, your Suncoast News on the go. Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Matter.
And I'm Don Brennan. After months of problems and delays, a much anticipated change is coming to Main Street in downtown Sarasota. Tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast, we'll show you what's finally opening its doors. Josh?
And the cold front has finally arrived, so what will the temperatures be? We'll let you know.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you. Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining.
Sarasota Institute of Lifetime Learning begins its 46th season on Monday, January 9th in Sarasota, Venice, and Lakewood Ranch. Meet Blair Tyndall, author of Mozart in the Jungle, on Monday, January 9th, and information and intelligence expert Terry Roberts on Tuesday, January 10th. 72 global issues lectures by renowned experts, 24 musical conversations with great performers. Tickets are on sale now. For more information and to purchase season tickets, visit SILLSarasota.org.
Now a look at your primetime headlines. President Obama is taking action against Russia and its president, Vladimir Putin, for interfering in the 2016 U.S. election. The administration today kicking 35 Russian operatives out of the U.S. Economic sanctions are also being placed on several Russian intelligence services, top military officers, and companies accused of providing support. The State Department is also shutting down 2 Russian intelligence compounds in Maryland and New York.
The sanctions today were aggressive and they were bold, and they're designed to send a message to Russia that this type of behavior is unacceptable.
The Kremlin continues to deny involvement, saying if Washington actually takes new hostile steps, then it will get a response. According to Russian President Vladimir Putin, another ceasefire is now in place in Syria. In a press conference, the legal advisor for the opposition group Free Syrian Army said the agreement is an effort to end the suffering of Syrian people and insists Assad's rule must also end. Syria's civil war has been ongoing for 6 years now. President Obama is designating more than 1.5 million acres in Utah and Nevada as National Monument Nature Preserves. The Bears Ears and Gold Butte National Monuments will protect areas rich in Native American artifacts from energy drilling. The designation comes less than 2 weeks after President Obama designated the bulk of U.S.-owned waters in the Arctic and Atlantic Oceans as off-limits for oil and gas leasing. Republican lawmakers in Utah say that the move is an abuse of executive authority.
Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, whether you're a liberal or a conservative, you ought to be worried when one person can exercise that much power in a way that will affect that many people's lives on the ground.
Obama has put more land under federal protection than any other U.S. president. Donald Trump takes office in a little more than 3 weeks. A sitting president cannot undo national monument designations. Now to the shocking news of the deaths of 2 Hollywood icons. Mother-daughter duo Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds dying just 1 day apart. ABC's Danya Backus takes a look back at their sometimes complicated relationship.
There was no denying
Manic depressive. Yes, she was born that way.
the close bond between Debbie Reynolds and Carrie Fisher. Both were considered Hollywood icons, but it seems their most important roles were as mother and daughter.
I wanted to be like my mother. I worship my mother.
The inseparable duo dying just 1 day apart. Fisher died on Tuesday at 60, and nearly 24 hours later,
she said she missed her daughter and wanted to see her again.
Reynolds suffered a stroke while helping to plan her daughter's funeral.
She loved taking care of my sister more than anything.
While they were close now, Reynolds and Fisher's relationship wasn't always so warm. The highs and lows documented in Fisher's book and movie, Postcards from the Edge.
Am I too late for the family?
At one point, they were estranged as Fisher battled substance abuse and mental illness.
She didn't talk to me for probably 10 years. So that was the most difficult time of all.
Eventually mending their relationship, the two became closer than ever in their final years. They even lived next door to one another, as seen in the upcoming HBO documentary, Bright Lights.
Mommy, I'm home.
Todd Fisher tweeting this picture saying, "A beautiful love story to witness in my 58 years. I miss them both so much."
And so do so many of their fans. That's all the time we have for this evening. You can join us tomorrow as we look ahead at the stories expected to play out over 2017. I'm Haley Wilgus. We'll see you back here at 11.